Hello, all of you vaingloriously wonderful people. This is the Vapid Stanier, and I'm about to find out if it'll off-road. This is the second most voted for vehicle this week, coming in with 10 votes. Kind of light on the voting the past couple weeks, but hey, I'm sure somebody will take to spamming the votes for something they really want to see really soon. You can do that by clicking the link in the description down below. Vote as many times as you want, but please try to keep it to just 3 vehicles. If you vote for more than that, it kind of breaks your entry and makes it impossible for me to count. I had somebody vote for every single car on the list, and well, none of those votes counted because it just doesn't work that way. So, the Vapid Stanier, sadly not based on the police cruiser version of the Stanier in the game. I really wish they would release one that's based on like the unmarked car that is available. But because this is the regular civilian version, it means it does not have a cop motor. It doesn't have cop tires or suspension or shocks. And of course, you know, this car was made way after catalytic converters came out, so it does require unleaded gas. But on the upside, the cigarette lighter works. So, yeah, some of you who have gotten that reference, some of you won't, and that's okay. Anyway, so the Stanier is actually probably one of the better cars at climbing Mount Chiliad. It's got kind of a sweet spot. It's got enough power to keep it moving. It's got enough traction to keep that power being applied, but it's not got so much power that it winds up, you know, getting the wheel spin that we've seen or causing other issues. So it was a very pleasant drive. Matter of fact, as you'll see because of the edit, this was that you're looking at right now is recorded later in the day in game than the descent, because well, something happened with the footage, I had to re-record it. But I had fun driving this car up the mountain, and it's been a while since I've just had a good time just driving the car up. I know it doesn't look like it a lot of times, but I'm really pushing this thing really hard, like to its limit, as testified, or I can't talk, as testified by the fact that I slammed it to the side of the mountain. But anyways, I really did want to push this car really hard for a couple reasons. One, got a new graphics card just a day before I recorded this that allows me to crank everything in the game up to ultra, like everything, and it looks absolutely stunningly, gorgeously beautiful, and it goes well above 60 frames per second, though I do limit it down to 60 frames. Excuse me, down to 60 frames for recording purposes. And just wanted to see how it would do with, you know, a quick climb up. But I also wanted to push this car really hard because I believed it could do really well. Because the Stanier is a great car. Yeah, I wish we had the cop version of it. But since we don't, we upgrade this one. We put the Steelies on it to give it that cop look. Tint the windows, make it look like the detective's car. And we're done with it. It struggled a little bit no matter which run I went on with this climb right here. I tried this 2 or 3 times actually just to see if I could get any better, and it just struggled like that. But we are up 3 minutes 8 seconds. Will the Stanier off-road? It will. It absolutely will, making it the second fastest sedan up Mount Chiliad. And just to give you a little perspective, even though this ranks in like overall like somewhere in the 50s, maybe even 60s, it is faster than a Fister Comet going up Mount Chiliad. So it may not be faster than a Fister Comet in a straight line or around a track, but going up Mount Chiliad, this thing's more capable. It's just a fantastic car. It really is. No wonder the GTA cops based some of their cop cars off of these, right? Right. Especially the sheriffs, so they're out, you know, in the wilderness a lot. But we have to go for the controlled descent, not pushing as hard, simply because this is a really long wheelbase vehicle. So jumps can be a little unpredictable at times, and the back end can want to kick up and kangaroo around on you and not want to really cooperate. If we would have had those those cop shocks and suspension and tires and all that, we would have been in better shape. We could have somersaulted, I don't know, over a drawbridge or something. Pardon me as I take a nice refreshing drink of water, and you can hear my wonderful Clean Canteen. It's insane. It's like the brand name, Clean Canteen. Anyway, so Controlled descent, there's really not a whole lot to talk about. It was controlled. I mean, that's a testament to the car. It gets out of whack a couple times. That was more because I was starting to want to push a little harder. Like, I think one of them's right here. Yeah, I had a little too much speed, and I went over that jump a little crooked, so we landed a little sideways. But, like I said, that's really more me causing that than the car. But as you can see here, plenty of speed on that jump. Beautiful landing, very composed, nice and flat, which is exactly what you want to see when you do manage to get some air. And it's pretty much the same story here, though I did slow down quite a bit. But not a lot of bouncing around on the landing, just it landed and just kept going forward, that's exactly what you want when you're bringing a car back down Mount Chiliad. Making the final big descent here before we actually wind up going back uphill just a little bit. And then we're coming around our final bit of dirt. The barely marked trail, the one that's hard to see, but thankfully is on the map. Oh, just barely missed the tree of mini crashes. By the way, you can tell this is my personal vehicle. You can hear the turbo sound, see the tinted windows, personalized plate, custom wheels, all that. I do own a Stanier because of course I do. I love this car. It's fantastic. It's fun to drive around in. I don't really get into the role-playing thing like a lot of people do with these. It's like, oh, I'm going to go be a cop in GTA. Nah, I just have it because I think it's awesome. But we are down with our control descent, 2 minutes 41 seconds. So let's go back to the top of Mount Chiliad. And we don't have a drawbridge handy to jump over. But we do have this little unfinished footbridge. So we'll just jump off of that and see if we can do a backflip somewhere around here. It might do. I don't know. Kind of does a pirouette. A big pirouette. I always found it odd that when you're in mid-air in a car in GTA, the engine doesn't continue to rev even though you're holding on the accelerator. Because I was in that whole jump. As a matter of fact, in the damage descent, I pretty much don't let off the accelerator. I'm either full reverse or full throttle. Always, one of those two. So, it's just odd that in mid-air, it doesn't rev. I've never really understood that. It will once you've landed. If you're upside down, the wheel it'll rev and the wheel will start turning again. But I don't know. But this car is taking quite a beating, and since this is a car that was in the game when GTA 5 launched, it does have a really good set of damage models for the thing to take a good beating. You can see that we've got like all kinds of damage to the front end. It looks like that right front has just collapsed. The back left, or back right, actually kind of has crumpled in addition to the body panels that have come off. Oh, ow. That'll give us a few more dents right there as we get hit by our own hood. But I do love doing the damage descent with the older cars in the game just because you actually get to see some real damage other than just doors falling off. And I think it just makes it more fun. But we're coming up to our little climb by the woodpile. Managed to tag the woodpile, and doing so scared a pedestrian. And we're down with the damage descent, 1 minute 46 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage. Of course, all the lights and windows are gone. The front bumper, hood, and the right front door, and the right front fender, all gone. Has some bent wheels and pretty significant body damage. But that is going to bring us to our next vehicle, the Coil Cyclone. It's very quiet. It's very, very quiet because it's an electric car. But this is the vehicle that received the most votes this week, coming in with 13. And I know, people vote for supercars, so that's fine. You can vote for whatever you want in the link in the description down below. But I know that some people are like, oh, it's a supercar, of course it's going to make it. And you're right. You do have an argument that a lot of times in this series we test cars are like, well, of course it's going to make it to the top of the mountain. That's kind of not the point. The point is to see how well they do it. You know, it's because not every supercar, obviously, if we have a timer, not every supercar can be the top. There's only going to be one. And this one, you know, does surprisingly well. I think that's to do with the low end on the electric cars, because it definitely, if it was a long straight that we had to go up, yeah, it wouldn't do so well, because these cars run out of oomph for the top end, and they're just really, they're low end cars. They've got a lot of quick acceleration, a lot of torque down there in the low end. And that's where they really shine. Of course, this one is all-wheel drive. You way back at the start, you can hear me as I did my typical engine rev while holding the handbrake. Well, that just caused me to do a burnout with the front wheels. It's one of the only cars that you can do 2 different burnouts in. It's kind of fun. Kind of misjudged my climb right there. It cost me a few seconds, but I don't think enough that... It may have costed a position in the listing, but definitely not 2 positions. Matter of fact, I know it probably costed a position by having that little issue back there, but that's okay. We're going to stick to this run, call it valid, because the car is lightweight, and it does tend to want to go where it wants to go on its own, instead of where I'm wanting it to go. On top of that, like we talked about last week with the Chiliad, since it is an all-wheel drive vehicle, the friction is going to be either used for turning the car for the front wheels, or it's going to be used for propelling the car forward or stopping it. It can't do both at the same time. It can, but it's not going to do both very well at the same time. But because of that, the steering input is a little bit weird under acceleration. Not so much under braking. It tends to do okay for some reason in this car, but the steering doesn't give you the input or the output you expect from what you're putting into the wheel when you're under acceleration. You can see that happening several times during this climb up, but it's doing really well. It's definitely, well, it's faster than the Stanier, but of course it's going to be, because it's an electric all-wheel drive supercar, where the Stanier was a rear-wheel drive, big, huge sedan. Making the fine little push-up, that all-wheel drive comes in handy, but I kind of overshot there because of the lightweight. Some woman screaming, "Help me," but we are up 2 minutes, 44 seconds. Will the Cyclone off-road? Ding, ding, ding. Yep, it will. It did just fine. Makes it the 5th fastest supercar, coming in about half a second slower than the Tempesta and a full second faster than the T20. Did I say that right? Slower than the Tempesta? Yeah, I did. Half a second slower than the Tempesta. So if I wouldn't have had that one little issue, it may have come in 4th. But we'll never know, because I'm not going to redo it. Maybe in the snow. I think I did this car in the snow, didn't I, though? I don't know. I can't keep track of which cars I have and haven't done in the snow. But hey, I have a handy spreadsheet that you can click in the link in the description down below that tells you every single car I've tested, including the snow. I'm looking at it right now, so I have it open on my laptop. That's why it may sound like I'm not talking directly at the microphone, because I'm not talking directly at the microphone. No, I never tested this car in the snow. The best supercar in the snow, though, was the Infernus, which was overall 2nd place in the snow, and of course 1st in the Supers. Supers did really well in the snow, actually. It's not surprising. I mean, they hold like several of the top 10 positions. Who knew? Anyways, doing the controlled descent in the Cyclone, again, really not much of an issue. It's more of a matter of just being sure I don't let it bounce around too much, because again, it is a very lightweight car. Other than that, not really any problems. It doesn't have the same steering problems that you get under acceleration as you with the braking, so it does okay. And it does alright, despite being really lightweight. It does fine in the jumps. There's no drama on the landing. It tends to stay just nice, and it dips down, but once you hit the ground, it doesn't bounce around wickedly out of control. I mean, that's beautiful when it does things like that. It's exactly, like I said, with the Stanier, it's what you want to see. The cars that bounce around and want to kick back up and go for a second, sometimes even 3rd bounce. Yeah, those are the ones that get you in trouble almost every time. Got a little too much speed through there, couldn't navigate that turn, or negotiate that turn, and wound up pegging a tree. It happens. Coming around the final little bit here. Will the tree mini crashes get a victim? No. Though the back end did step out quite a bit. Like quite a bit, actually. So slowing down a little bit so I don't overshoot any turns anymore. Back down on the asphalt, can give it a bit more on the accelerator, almost at the gas, but that, well, it's an electric car. So it's something, get it on the gas. No, it doesn't work with an electric car. But we are down 2 minutes, 35 seconds, almost said 34. So let's go back to the top of Mount Chiliad and see what's what for a damage descent on what's what is it. It's suddenly daylight. because I waited just so we wouldn't have to do this in the dark. Mainly because it's a dark colored car and we wouldn't have been able to see it. It's two cars almost the exact same color in one video. I just realized that. So, this one is a newer vehicle, so, you know, we'll get some busted windows and some busted lights. We might lose a door, but we're not going to get the same, you know, deformed body parts and, you know, collapsed in trunks and things like that that you would see on the older cars in the games. It's still really, I don't know, Rockstar, I know you don't watch my videos, but, you know, should you ever, I'd really like to see in the next GTA proper damage models for all the cars, please. Just take that extra time. I would rather have less cars in a DLC and have them be a more complete experience. I really would. And I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but it just gets kind of boring when, you know, the cars just get scratched after crash after crash after crash after crash. Or maybe their hood won't close a little bit, you know, something like that. It's just not, I don't know, it's just not the same. I love, you know, crashing into the back of a train with, I don't know, a Zion and watching it get so crushed in the front end that you can't even recognize what car it was to begin with anymore. You know, so stuff like that it just gives that added immersion to the game that sadly these newer cars just kind of break. But hey, at least they're fun to drive and pretty to look at, right? I guess. Though this one is trying, it looks like, to have some dents replicated as I fly way past the woodpile. I mean, you can see that it's not as smooth as it was, but it's more of a visual in the paint. There's not any actual deformities. I don't know, but we're down 1 minute 54 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage. Most of the lights are gone. 3 of the windows are gone. The doors won't close, and it does have bent wheels. And I am going to go ahead and say it has minor body damage, even though, I don't know, maybe it doesn't really, and it's just kind of the way they choose to make the light reflect off of it to try to make it look damaged, but whatever. That's going to do it for this episode of Will It Off-Road. Don't forget to go vote for the vehicles you want to see featured in future Will It Off-Road videos. And until next time, I'm Brandon, reminding you to stay vainglorious.